Hello everyone, Nick, NK Active here. We are still in the middle of this coronavirus, but obviously, hopefully some form of relaxing on the social distancing and the lockdown will end soon. And I thought it'd be good just to give some quick tips about how we can try and reduce the risk of possibly getting injuries when returning back to our normal levels of activity. Just because I think that there's a lot of people where their activity levels have changed quite a bit during this lockdown period. And I think there is a risk of once everyone gets back to doing their normal levels of activity post-lockdown, I think where we've had this time off, I think there's an increased chance of people getting a few problems. And I want to try and give you guys some tips on how you can try and prevent this. So let's just share my screen and we'll run through a little presentation. So let's get this started. So the aim is to try and reduce your risk of getting an injury. That's our lovely clinic just in North Romsey, and that's our amazing little gym all on site that I miss dearly. So why we get injured? There are two reasons why you get injured. One is a one-off trauma, i.e. you fall over, you break your leg, or a tendon, your anterior cruciate ligament goes, or something along those lines, and you know when that happens. The other reason is what we call this sort of chronic overloading. And this is the bit that you don't really know is happening in the background because the load is accumulating up and up and up, or there's a sudden increase in load and an injury happens and you sit and you think, oh my God, why does this happen? I would say the majority of what we see is within this sort of overloading rather than the acute stuff. So let's talk about zone of optimum stress. Now, this was sort of developed by a colleague of ours, Dr. Simon Spooner, and I think it just helps explain things quite nicely. There is some other work by Scott Dye in the envelope of function, but I find explaining to patients that using the zone of optimum stress works really well. So what we have here, for this demonstration purposes, this white line here is your Achilles tendon. Your two vertical blue lines is your zone of optimum stress. So your window here, and as long as you operate within this window, in theory, you won't pick up an injury. Obviously, if you rest a lot, then what you'll find is that your capacity reduces. So you'll find this blue line will start moving further and further down because you're not using everything. And that's why it's really important during this lockdown period is to really make sure you are doing some stuff on a regular basis around strengthening. And just because you haven't got access to the gym, there's plenty of stuff available that you can do online. We've put up some little workout groups focused on different areas of the body. There are plenty of stuff. I personally do. My daughter loves Joe Wick's program, so we do the Joe Wicks, and she is fascinated by she's only 2.5, so she's fascinated by the different outfits. So I tend to have to do my routine I do with that changes every Friday. And if we sort of say here, this red line here is the load on running. So in this state here, as you can see it, that you're operating within this zone of optimum stress, so you won't get an injury. Then what may happen is post-lockdown, you suddenly increase the mileage and you pop yourself outside of that zone. When that happens, that's when your injury may occur. Then what happens is that if you keep going outside of that zone, this zone gets smaller and smaller. And as I already mentioned, another reason why this zone may get smaller is if you're underloading, you're not doing enough. And this is why then some people will say, okay, I've got an injury. It used to hurt when I run, but now it's hurting on walking because now day-to-day walking is enough to aggravate it. So what you need to try and do is twofold. One, reduce the load. And you can reduce the load by running techniques, footwear, insoles, taping, etc. But also importantly is increase your tissue capacity. So increase your tolerance and increase that zone of optimum stress. So you basically give yourself a much bigger window to play with. And again, that's why it's really important to keep up with the strengthening exercises now during the lockdown period to help put yourself in the best possible scenario you can post-lockdown so you can reduce your risk of picking up an injury. And people will often fail to see progress during this lockdown because there are loads of issues going around, and I appreciate it's difficult in the state we're in now. And I am about to ruin this logo for you. And I think it's an absolute, whoever designed this logo is a genius, whether it's by mistake or not. But people will often fail, even just doing your regular strengthening stuff. Now you'll fail to see the progress that's going to help you later on. As there's many people fail to see the forward pointing arrow in the FedEx logo. I'm really, really sorry. All you're going to see now, every time you see a FedEx logo, is that forward pointing arrow. So how can you prevent overloading? Most people have heard of this increasing what you do by 10%. That's a little too vague for my liking. I like to use the work developed by Dr. Tim Gavitt, the acute chronic workload ratio. Now this should link to my website. There we go. So the acute chronic workload ratio is a tool that you can basically work out 4 weeks worth of activity and work out whether what you're going to do, what you have done, is going to give you an increased risk of getting an injury. And essentially, if you type all your numbers in and that number's greater than 1.2, there's an increased risk of getting an injury. Anything greater than 1.5, there's a significant increased risk of getting an injury. So it's a tool to use, I think, during this state now to really start trying to pre-plan what you're going to do. Now, it sort of says mileage here, it could be time, and then you can also use intensity. Now, when you're filling this out, week 4 is always your highest volume of activity. So let's sort of say that the government lets us know when the lockdown is going to end, and we're allowed to get out and do a little bit more activity. So say if you're doing 20 miles a week during a lockdown period, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do 20 miles, and then 20 miles, and then the lockdown ends, and then you do 60 miles. You can see that's a workload ratio of 2, much, much higher than the 1.2. So by doing that, you're giving yourself a much higher risk of getting an injury. Whereas if we know when the lockdown's going to end, and we can sort of then sort of play around with the figures, we can look at, say, for example, trying to plan out your mileage and what you're going to do beforehand to make sure, sorry, error there, that you're not going to be doing too much. And you can have a play with the figures to find out what's going to work for you. So if it's a really good interactive tool. So if you were going to do that and you'd had done 20 miles each week during the lockdown, then maybe you could try, say, doing 22 the week after lockdown. If you say, okay, we know the lockdown is going to end in a few weeks' time, then you say, well, actually, I have been doing 20. Okay, let's maybe up it to a 24-mile week, and then maybe let's do then 26. And then after lockdown, we can then look at doing 28, and that's fine. See, can you push it to 30? Yes, just about. But if you said, actually, I want to do a 33-mile week, the first week back after lockdown, you say, actually, no, that's going to be too much. So you can sit here and you can play around with it. And this is just a free tool people can use just from the website. Anyone's interested in the science behind it, you can download a free PDF to read through Tim's work. So now let's go back to the presentation. So then we're talking about exercises, and I think there are some exercises that you could be doing at home now on a regular basis that need minimal or no equipment, and each one will take you no longer than 2-3 minutes to do, the time it takes you to make a cup of tea, brush your teeth, etc. Now, when you're doing these, always work out what we call RPE 7 out of 10. RPE, what is it? Well, it's the rate of perceived excursion. So it's how hard you are working. 0 no effort, 10 maximal effort. And you want to be around that 7 out of 10 region, really, so we know you're working hard. So what you may want to try is a single leg calf raise. And what I'm hoping this should then link to YouTube. I'm going to turn the sound off so it just doesn't blur anything, but you can look at doing just some single leg calf raises on a regular basis, trying to say build up to doing 30. Once you can do 30 of these nice and controlled and slowly, then build up to using off the edge of a step. Then once you do it off the edge of a step, then look at maybe adding some weight. Remember, keep an RPE 7 out of 10. So when you first start doing these, you may find you can manage 10 repetitions. You may find you can manage 20. It's personal and individualized to every single person. Next exercise, single leg squat. This is good for starting to work on your ability to control your strength. When you're doing this, make sure that your knee is tracking over between the first and second toe, and you maintain nice level hip position and then move back up. This one is all about the control of the exercise. So you don't need to worry about doing more and more and more of these. I sort of say once you can sort of do 10 to 15, then that's fine. If you find that easy, then add some weight or stand on a pillow just to make it harder. And then finally, my favorite exercise of all is the lateral band walk. These are really, really great for your glutes. If you want to make it easier, put the band up around your knees, medium level around your ankles, hardest around your feet. If you need a band, let us know, we can supply you one. But this is a really, really good glute exercise to do, and quite fun for all the family to do. So let's go back here. So then, to sum up, really small gradual changes. Use the acute chronic workload ratio. Working on getting stronger now should be helpful for the future and help minimize your risk of picking up an injury when we come out of this lockdown period. A thing we didn't really touch on, but there's also some research showing, is making sure we're getting in good sleep patterns. We know reduction in having poor sleep does increase your risk of getting an injury. And when we're talking about exercises, think about RPE, not reps, because if I got everyone to do 3 sets of 10, it will be an RPE of 7 for some people, but maybe an RPE of 10 for others, or 4 for other people. Using RPE makes it individualized for everyone. So I hope that is useful. If you've got any questions, any queries, just drop me an email, nick@nkactive.co.uk. You can head to our shop, nkactive.co.uk, and go and click on the shop tab if you need to get a hold of any bands or anything. Any other questions, just let us know. But more importantly, and most importantly, everyone stay safe, and we will catch up soon. See you later. Goodbye.